This podcast is brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. Visit patreon.com/dissecting80s to find out how you can get more than 25 extra episodes of this show instantaneously. That's right. When you sign up, you unlock the entire back catalog all at once. You can listen to it on your favorite podcast app, including Spotify, with a custom RSS feed. And all that stuff is easily explained how you can do that when you sign up. Patreon.com/dissecting80s. You get the bonus episode every other month at the $5 tier, as well as our monthly newsletter, which tells you some of the fun stuff we're watching. And you'll get the annual Christmas Mentary, which this year will be Disney's Tim Burton's Henry Selick directed The Nightmare Before Christmas. So
you could throw Danny Elfman, Disney's Tim Burton's Danny Elfman's Henry Selick's. He's pretty involved.
I sent you the picture. There was like a Lego set, I think, and it's like Disney's Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's like there was like a guy who did a lot of work on this movie whose name does not get mentioned as the director as they normally do. So
he didn't fight for it the way Carpenter does.
Maybe he just got. From my understanding, I will have to do some research. My understanding, Tim Burton kind of ran roughshod on him on that. Like said he was going to help him out, and then kind of just left him in the lurch. So I'll do more research. That you can look forward to that on the Christmas Mentary.
We might need to talk for 20 minutes first, and then get into the movie. If you have hot takes and thoughts, I feel like we should probably.
I could pepper them in through the room. I honestly don't know that I have a hot take because I haven't seen that movie in 25 years.
Fair.
Or perhaps even longer than that. So I'm trying to give it.
You never watched it in college?
No. Are you kidding? I hate it.
Yeah, but you were surrounded by people who did love it. I'm surprised it just wasn't like.
I wasn't though, because I was in regular gen pop as opposed to theater, theater section.
I guess.
I didn't mean regular as it.
No, we all heard it.
I was trying.
We all heard it.
But you.
Your silence is deafening.
I was in gen pop, and you were in the theater division, and so I
didn't live in a theater dorm. I want to say that as well.
I feel like after a year, it became a specialized theater troupe.
I was in the theater department, but I didn't live in a theater dorm. That would have been a nightmare.
There was just a lot of wigs.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Very, very large multi-bulbed mirrors.
It would have looked a lot like the dorm room in Wicked.
There was a lot of juggling happening.
Not in me, but yeah, I still can't juggle.
People were doing dangling off things by their knees, practicing the acrobatics.
Yeah.
People were hanging backwards off a chair, pretending they were on a silk or not a silk or
they're silks.
Silk, but also what's the trapeze bar called? Is there a name for that?
There's a parallel bars or uneven bars or a trapeze.
No, the one that a person would swing on in a cabaret.
That'll probably be a trapeze.
Anyway, this is the longest Patreon promo in history. Patreon.com/dissecting80s. Find out how you can get more of your favorite podcast. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s and happy holidays from us here. This is the main feed Christmas episode, as it were.
Happy Honda Days, a December to remember, and Merry Toyota-thon.
We have the Christmas playlist in the house, as you do.
Yeah.
And, I had mine where it came, I brought my Christmas songs. My wife brought her Christmas songs. We've merged.
What's her big couple?
She's her big Christmas songs were the Glee Christmas albums, which are
interesting.
I don't have any affiliation with Glee, but other than being vaguely aware of it.
I can't remember if I got the Christmas album. I'm sure I did.
There are 4.
Oh, then I didn't. I have probably a Christmas album.
Or at least 3. But it's just the standards performed by, people who good singers. I have no beef with it. I have no idea about the show, but I can tell you that the Christmas album is
show's weird.
Perfectly solid.
Haven't watched it in a while. Show's weird.
Christmas albums are perfectly solid. Everybody on there is a talented singer. They're doing the standards. What I do find very funny, and I ask her this all the time, is how did they justify this was a public school and there's so many Jesus songs on here? They don't do the the Jingle Bells, Sleigh Ride.
Well, they probably did that on the first album, but by album 4, you'd be what is Mary Did You Know? Sure.
it's like "Oh Little Town of Bethlehem" and "Christ the Savior is born." I don't remember which one that is, but like "Oh Holy Night."
Nick,
Like,
yeah.
they're doing hymns, and I was just like, is there an episode where this is a controversy? Like
There probably was, but then someone sang something and they were like, "You're right."
Did Jane Lynch come storming in there? Like, what are you doing, Schuster?
You know a name. I'll give you credit for that.
I was waiting for some credit.
Yeah.
But we have added, I think it's NSYNC and not the Backstreet Boys, but the like.
I'm pretty sure it's NSYNC.
Christmas and happy
holidays.
But the rhythm of them singing "Happy Holidays" sounds like Honda Days to me, and so every time we listen to
Happy Honda
in my
Days,
head, I'm like, "Happy Honda Days."
Does she have the Britney Spears Santa? Santa, can you hear me?
That was not on. That is. I don't believe that's on. A version of that song is on our playlist, but I don't think it's the Britney Spears one. I am the primary curator, not in a douchey way, but just like she doesn't actually.
Well, yeah, I know she's. I was saying she's not a big media person that I'm aware of.
So we'll watch a Christmas movie and I'm like shazamming a song and like throwing it into the playlist.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing. So and then like a year later I'm like, what is this shit? And I take it out. So anyway, I haven't even gotten to this part. So, with me, as always, I am Triple H, and one half the Mega Podcasting Powers, wishing you a happy holidays and Merry Christmas. And with me, as always, is my tag team partner, creature you find under the counter in a decrepit Chinatown tchotchke shop, the Macho Man.
Andrew Leno, the one that you will feed after midnight because the bars close at 2, but you probably shouldn't.
You're not supposed to feed this one after midnight, but mostly that's just like a worried about heart disease thing as he advances.
Yeah, that's me on a wedge pillow.
Wicked heartburn is a problem.
Oh boy.
It's like, this is a 4-tub night. I got a roller dog at the center.
Yeah, I did. The first time I learned that hummus does that real bad was not fun.
Hummus, huh?
If it's a garlicky hummus, if it's a particularly garlicky hummus, which a lot of store-bought hummus tends to be, I ate a lot of it, and then I tried to sleep, and I was like, oh, everything hurts!
Well, we, of course, watched a holiday classic celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, believe it or not. It's Gremlins by Joe Dante, and we watched it, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your 3 rules, so because you have 3 rules!
When the mega powers explode!
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So I do have a question for you. I watched this on Max because I forgot I owned it on Blu-ray.
I own it on Blu-ray, but I still watched it on Max because it's more convenient.
Yeah. Well, as I finished it, I was, talking to my wife about the movie a little bit. She watched it with me, and
this wasn't her first watch, was it?
No, we've watched this one before. There were like 3 or 4 questions I had that I kind of, as you're taking the notes for the podcast, you view the movie a little differently. And so I was thinking about all these things and I was like, I bet there's deleted scenes out there. So I ended up pulling them up on YouTube. Again, could have gotten the Blu-ray, forgot that I owned it.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched deleted scenes for this?
I think I have at one point, because this is very much a top 5 favorite, my favorite Christmas movie, period, bar none. But one of my favorite movies. It's just very good, so I probably have at some point because I've consumed as much as I can.
So I'll work some of the thoughts and scenes in as I go because I think they kind of are. It was like a 10-minute reel on YouTube that was the deleted scenes, mostly stuff that you're like, I don't really need this. A couple things that you're like, oh, this is too dark. I see why this isn't here. But the one that I thought was very interesting is that there's one that's like clearly the original opening of the movie that they just trimmed down for whatever reason, and it's the dad who goes into a different shop first. And he's asking for something for the kid, and she's trying to give him one of
those birds that that
no.
drinks water.
It's like No, she's like trying to sell him incense. She's trying to sell him like a packet of beans, like mystery seeds or whatever. And he's like, no, no, no. And then he's like, I'm looking for something like a gadget or a gizmo. You got anything like a gizmo? And she's like, oh yeah, yeah. And she gets out like a single battery on like a hang tag rack. It's like a 9-volt in. It's like the card, like a action figure pack.
Yeah,
like
a blister pack
in the bubble. Yeah, a blister pack of a single like 9-volt. And she's like, oh, gizmo gadget. And he's like, no, no, no. I want the. Never mind. And he like leaves. But him like getting to the word gizmo and then naming gizmo never made a whole lot of sense to me. And like, it's who cares?
See, it did to me because he's an inventor. Okay, he makes gizmos. Makes some
sense, I guess. Yeah, but it's like this was like the script kind of laboriously getting to
see this that no. Sense. It's funny that you say that you would appreciate that because if they made a prequel and
I would hate it,
and then that was a bit in the prequel, you would be like foaming at the mouth to say how dumb it was.
Yes, I would 100% agree, and I think it's fine that it's not in this for the same reasons. Like it's not necessary, but it's just. Like the script doing the belabored thing of like, oh, he had come to the word gizmo because
I'm glad they took it out because he later says this is exactly what I was looking for. And if he had just told someone who's looking for a gadget or a gizmo and a living creature, he was what he was looking for, I'd be like, sir.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hang on.
Yeah.
So this is Gremlins is the story of a Christmas gift gone terribly wrong when humanity does not follow the 3 main rules for an unknown creature. They go from adorable fuzzy to lizard scaly and cause havoc in the town.
It's basically the Star Trek episode, The Trouble with Tribbles.
I couldn't remember the word, yeah.
The cute little furry things that like take over. Crazy pedigree on this film, written by Christopher Columbus, who wrote this originally as a spec script, and it was much, much darker.
Oh, yes, it was.
Some of the deleted scenes and stuff we talk about.
Well, even stuff that never got made to air, they were like, we're not filming, like... Change that.
Yes. Yeah.
You doofus.
Directed by Joe Dante, who we love on this podcast. Maybe we'll get to talk to him one day. And produced by Steven Spielberg, who like was heavily involved in, like more than just like had his name on it. He was like,
not a Poltergeist level, but
yeah. Well, he didn't ghost direct it. Because they wouldn't let him. Honestly, it's funny that they didn't try to pull a Stephen King with that, because the reason why Stephen King wrote a bunch of books under a different name is because the publishers were like, you can only put out 1 book a year, like people get suspicious.
Yeah.
And he was just writing a lot of books and also doing a lot of drugs and writing a lot
of cocaine.
So he had a bunch.
Richard Bachman was the big one.
It's actually the only one.
I thought there were multiples.
No, there are multiple Bachman books, but
because isn't like Under the Dome Bachman? One of the ones that got turned into a thing was a Bachman book, I think.
Running Man was. Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Maybe. I just feel like one of them I remember being like, oh, that was a Bach.
I mean, I've read most of them, so I am struggling to remember, but they definitely adapted Bachman books into movies. But like why they didn't just call him like Paul Arndt-Derg, and people are like, who's Paul Arndt-Derg? Like, I don't know. It's a new young and up-and-comer directed Poltergeist.
Yeah. It's not like they had the internet.
Right. Although a person did figure out the Bachman thing just back in the day by like following.
Hey, this Bachman guy also writes about Maine a lot and has weird attitudes towards women and children.
But he reverse engineered it from Library of Congress info.
Oh, he went like mega nerd.
He sleuthed it out because he had he thought like you said, he thought the writing was too similar to Stephen King, and then he reverse engineered it. He's like, it is Stephen King, and like I think he contacted King or the publisher and was like, am I right? I won't tell anybody, but you have to, like, I want to know if I'm right. And they were like, well,
if you're a cop, you have to tell me.
It's like, if this guy figured it out, it's all over. So. But just an incredible pedigree of the behind the scenes people on this movie.
Even on screen people is pretty wild.
Oh sure, I mean it's a very good cast and all that. I just mean just like the idea, like the cost now to have a movie that involved Joe Dante, Christopher Columbus, and Steven Spielberg is just preposterous.
Yeah, although Spielberg might do it for cheap, depending.
If you say so.
I feel like for like a nostalgia factor, if it was like getting the band back together kind of a situation, there might be some kind of
maybe. Anyway, so we got the Huckster dad here, who's an inventor, and he's
The man who's not in
mystery
60% of our film is our narrator.
Yeah. Also, the Spielberg connection comes up real quick here because much like Temple of Doom, which also came out this year, he has a Asian child in a New York Yankees cap who's like.
I'm shocked this isn't Ki Hui Kwan.
What's the word I want here? Like, it's not grifter.
Precocious?
Necessarily.
No,
it's like he's like a little schemer. Like, I don't know that scammer is the right word, but he's like a little.
He's like streetwise.
Yeah.
We're all dancing around this word.
There's a word here that I can't get to and frankly, maybe it's a racist word, and that's why I can't come up with it. But he's like a little,
fast talking,
entrepreneurial. Yeah. But I was cracking up. I was like, wow, it's just the same setup as Temple. Like, it's a young Asian boy in a Yankees cap who's like fast talking and whatever. And it's like, oh right, Spielberg, same guy.
So apparently, according to the text in the script, so it's never really said anywhere else, Kingston Falls is in Pennsylvania. Okay. So do you think this is like Philly's Chinatown?
I mean, in that case, it's very possible. The dad's a traveling salesman, though, so it's possible
an inventor.
He's anywhere.
But I feel like him coming from New York with Gizmo seems crazy.
Yeah. But like this would be like a central PA, I feel like.
That's true. I guess it could be at Pittsburgh. He could be in Pittsburgh right now. I don't know if Pittsburgh has a Chinatown, but
I mean, or if they did, 40 years ago, because DC had a Chinatown 40 years ago, and now they have fucking God damn it! What's that clothes outlet? An H&M with Chinese characters on it.
Is it a Uniqlo?
Yeah, it's
actually
H&M.
H&M.
Like there's a Chick-fil-A that has Asian letters, and there's a CVS with Asian characters. It's just all of the businesses.
Is there an H Mart? I love H Mart.
No. It's like bad, boring downtown businesses. It's Chick-fil-A, it's CVS, it's you said Uniqlo, but it's probably an H&M, and Chipotle. Like, it's those tier of businesses.
Gotcha.
Like very samey chains, but all of their signs have some Asian characters on them because they're like, but this is the Chinatown location. So he starts pitching the bathroom buddy to the guy who owns this shop, who is in classic 80s fashion, a mystic Asian person who is so exotic. But I know this was just of the times, but the bathroom buddy isn't like pocket knifed where like the things are designed in such a way.
They're full-size products.
Right. And so it's just like a large thing that he glued a razor and a toothbrush to. It's not even like it slides out of it that like, okay, there's some.
I mean, things do pop out in the same style of a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. But there's not any thought to like making it compact at all, which I found very funny.
Although I guess if you were going to put toothbrush, toothpaste, razor, shaving cream, mirror, tweezers, clippers, like it's probably about the same.
It's a bulky item.
It is a bulky item, but I feel like with the amount of stuff that's on it, it might be equivalent.
It feels like you would have, like, if you imagined holding a toothbrush, like if you cut it in half and just kept the top part where the brush head is, that like mounted in the handle and then it like pushed in and stuck out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
As opposed to like his is like a regular ass toothbrush with a hinge at the base that like flips up and a razor at just hinges out. So this thing is just like absurdly bulky. And of course, as we find out, very few of his inventions work past the first week. So it sprays toothpaste all over him as he's talking to the owner of this shop.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Rand Peltzer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is the bathroom buddy. Imagine you got a big meeting. Oh, I forgot to shave. I'm just imagining all of those putzes just like raking this poor man over the coals as he.
You know who wouldn't? Television. The fucking QVC lady, whose name I can't remember. She would be like
Barbara Corcoran.
No. The Barbara's not this. Oh. It's Lori. The other one, the long-haired one.
Yeah, I named the only woman that I know.
There's a short-haired woman and a long-haired woman, and this is the long-haired woman.
This is the Shark Tank lineup I know. Mark Cuban, Barbara Corcoran, only because she gets name dropped in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and so
that's right, she does.
Yeah, mean bald white guy, cool bald black guy.
Yeah,
who does like the hipper products.
Mm-hmm. Well, he and Mark Cuban sometimes split them. I feel like.
really 80s villain coded guy with brownish hair and a long nose.
Oh, you're right. He is. Forgot about him, and B, he
He's
is an '80s villain.
He's like very much coded as like 80s villain. You know,
Big ol' eyes.
He's the developer who's going to close the rec center.
Yes, but so those are all correct. But then there's a long-haired lady who works for QVC, and her eyes would light up like $ seeing this shit to be like, hang on, I can put this in front of hundreds of millions of people who will buy it for 4 easy payments of $29.95.
I mean, just might. So really, need to point out that he's like, and of course, what happens if you got the dragon breath? And then the movie does a fucking pause and gong to ring on this joke, and just
the best is the way he says it is that he kind of realizes what he says and then says bad breath, which makes me think that dragon breath is just part of his normal pitch and he forgot to edit it out.
Yeah. He was like, I'm being a racist, but it's just like pause, beat, boing.
I mean, if the joke is done to be like, you're being a racist idiot, which I've used that joke before with a gong in a show, it's okay because you're saying you're a racist idiot.
Yeah. So here we hear Gizmo chirping and chipping and
chittering,
fluttering away, and he comes out and we start talking about it, and of course we get the with great Mogwai comes great responsibility.
Yes.
Speech. Uncle Ben, the owner of this
Uncle Wing
shop in Chinatown. Yeah, Uncle Wing, that's right.
Who does die in the second one? Spoiler alert. So
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Hoyt says, "This is I'm looking for a gift for my son. This is exactly what I've been looking for." And it's like, this is exactly what you've been looking for. Why? How? And what, sir?
Yeah. It's completely nuts. Like that a creature he didn't know existed until moments ago is like the number one thing he has to have now for Christmas.
Also, we'll get in. Well, like I said, I love this movie a lot, so I've had a lot of time to think about these things. There's no discussion of what they're supposed to eat, just when they're supposed to eat.
Right.
So like,
right. And also, like, after midnight ends when?
True, which, like, they had to dazzle you with puppetry so that you wouldn't think too hard about it while you're in the movie. Right. And then afterwards you could think about it.
Right. Also, here's the easy fix. Don't feed them after dark. Then no one has...
You can't don't feed them when it's dark.
Yeah. No, don't feed them after sundown. Like, they
No, you have to specify when it stops. So you have to say, don't feed them when it's dark. Because if you say after sundown, when can you start feeding them again?
After sunrise.
But you have to say that, so you don't feed them when it's...
I think that's implied.
They said the rule is don't feed them after midnight, and so they think the start time is implied, so you got to be clear. They do make fun of that in the sequel.
They get fed during city park hours.
Wait, did we do we did the thing, right?
Explaining what the...
No. We got to go back. We got to go to like the 80s. Okay,
yes,
sorry.
Yes.
I just realized my pen was covering it, and I was like, oh no.
290 something episodes in, I learned eventually that I should write down the word song and then the timestamp so I can go back and edit it more easily.
Oh.
So if song has something written, I know that I did that step.
Smart.
I just, it's, the Mogwai have city park hours, for they're closed from sunset to sunup.
Yeah, that's fair.
Till dawn. Yeah.
Yeah, it's don't get them wet, which happens a lot in the movie and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Don't feed them after midnight, which again, when can you feed them?
Right. Well, I would argue that most of the times when they're getting wet, something bad happens. Although in this movie...
I will point out all of the time, there's a lot of times where they are getting wet and nothing bad is happening.
Are you counting all of the snow? Because for some reason the movie does not count snow.
Not all the snow, but I was going to reference that.
Okay.
And keep them out of light. They hate bright light.
Yes.
Bright light shows the wires.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. So we meet the...
We smash cut to the greatest Christmas song of all fucking time.
Yes. It does have a very good Christmas soundtrack. And we meet the cheapskate sheriff.
Uh-huh. The cops in this universe are greedy and useless, and I never noticed it until this watch, but I love it.
Yeah. The deputy is the actor who plays Mike Ehrmantraut in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Oh, I know him as Ben Wyatt's father in Parks and Rec.
Sure, yeah, he's also that. I wish I had written his name down, but he's great.
They try and get a
we
free
have a-
tree from the tree farm, and the one I don't know. Is he like a? Is he a?
He's got a mayoral quality to him, but they never fully are like, oh, that's the mayor.
He is not wearing the sash with the
Right.
with the rosette on it.
Or the top hat.
Yeah,
as mayors
or
would want to
or
be.
the rosette pin with the tails. Yeah,
Yeah.
But he's like, I paid for my tree, sheriff or deputy or whatever the hell
Yeah,
title you
yeah.
are.
Or I guess he could be the fire chief because like that's a normal rival.
Oh, he could be. Yeah. Kingston Falls is the Back to the Future square, town square.
Yes, it is. I don't know that I have consciously clocked that before. I'm sure that I have, but there was like a moment several times where I was like, this is the Back to the Future city, right?
I only
And
noticed it,
finally Googled it
in that first, like during Darlene Love, when it's the big overhead wide shot, and you can see the like city hall where the clock is supposed to be, kind of thing.
The one that actually did it for me was when they walk down the street towards the movie theater, because that's where Marty goes back to the future.
Oh,
Because the fire like goes to the movie theater. Because I
Got
think it's
it.
also a movie theater in Back to the Future.
I don't know. I don't remember them going to one, but I'm sure it's there.
No, I'm just saying. I think Marty is like driving at the movie theater.
Yeah. And if you look really close in the background of this movie, you can see Elizabeth Shue covered in garbage, asleep. It is Elizabeth Shue in that, or is that right? Because that's the sequel.
It is, yeah. We meet Dick Miller, who's very jingoistic, racist.
Yeah.
It's like the tier. It's not the like
Hateful.
hood. It's not like the hood and marching in with the Klan racist. It's the one tier down, which is still racist.
It's still bad, but he's.
It's the like, I fought in World War II and I have things to say about Japanese people which are bad. Where it's like, well, you're totally wrong, but you also just like were just fed a string of propaganda. And so it's like, it's easy to understand why you have really dumb racist thoughts about an entire country.
Yeah. And you're on your way out.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of
It's
runway
like-
left.
Yeah.
As long
it's
as you're
like-
not voting or talking to people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Sorry.
right? Like as long as you're just like keeping it to yourself, we'll just have to let this pass, I guess. Of course, the great Dick Miller, huge fans here on this.
Legend, icon, and star, Dick Miller.
That guy extraordinaire.
So this was the watching where I like realized how much of a putz Billy is.
Oh, sorry. One pause there. I don't want to interrupt pause. But as we swing by the movie theater, they only have 2-letter E's, which I find completely insane. So
What do you mean?
There's 2 movies on the marquee, and they both require. There's 3-letter E's. So 2 of them are like a small blue E, and then the third E is the giant red E. You know how they have on those like signs where they put up physical letters like tiles, and so there's usually like the big font for like now showing, and then there's the like smaller font of like Gremlins 2 and the Transformers. And so, and they're consistent with this too, which I found very funny, because later in the movie when they have Snow White and the 7 Dwarves, it's like they also are consistently having the wrong number of E's, which I just thought was good.
There would only be. Wait, hang on.
Snow White has 3.
You're right, because it's dwarfs with an F.
Yeah.
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 I had to count in my head.
Snow White. Oh, it's right. It's dwarfs, not dwarves. That's why Snow White works, because it only has 2. No,
because Snow White is 1, thee is 1, and 7 is 2 more, so make 4.
Well, then I don't know what's going on. Then it was a drunk person, but
It was Elvira doing a bit.
Have this problem, but there's like a giant red E that like they didn't have enough letter E's, and I was just like, how do you not have a shitload of E's in the box? There should be a lot of E's. It's the most common letter in English. Sorry, Billy's a putz.
And like I've always like kind of thought it, but this one really like lodged it in for me that like Dick Miller is Billy's neighbor, his friendly neighbor. He's probably known his entire life. Who's like takes the time to be like, oh hey, how's your comics drawing going? I expect to see you in the funny pages next to something Little Abner. And Billy's response is, they don't run those comics anymore. And it's like, hey, buddy, he's your kind neighbor who's supporting you.
Right.
Like, obviously we know he's racist. We already covered that, but like you don't care in 1980 whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's the like classic what are you gaining by being right?
Exactly. Like it's mean.
You know? Yeah. Like there are times when it's important to correct a person and there are times when it is not. And usually you don't need to.
Yeah.
Like 99 times out of 100. And so it's just like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly. The number of times I bite my lips when we're talking about Disney parks to people because I know that I care. I know more than they do and I care more than they do.
Right.
Unless it's a major thing like I'm going to Florida to go to Disneyland, I will gently correct on that one. But that's it.
I mostly in that situation, unless they're like talking about something that is going to ruin their vacation by their mistake, I'm just going to...
I just like to say it first because I don't want them to do research and then like into Disneyland and then...
Right.
Because I just saw something online that like obviously is probably fake because I saw it on Instagram, but it was like a guy on a flight to Florida sitting making small talk and the person next to him was like, I'm going to Disneyland. And he was like... It gently reminds her, no, actually, it's Disney World. It's in Florida. And she goes, no, and pulls up the ticket on her phone, and it's Disneyland.
Oh, boy.
So, like, yeah.
You have bought tickets to the wrong state.
Uh-huh.
It also has one of my favorite tropes with Billy here, the I don't know how to tie a tie. And, like, I understand that that's real to some level, but it's not hard. Like, I know more than one tie knot, and I'm a doofus who wears a tie 3 times a year. Like, it's just
But I guess if you're like, the bank probably supplies the clip-on ties.
Well, Judge Reinhold doesn't wear clip-on.
Well, because he's a senior vice president. Or junior vice president, or whatever.
I think this is Billy being like, I'm a lazy idiot.
Well, it's also that, like, originally Billy was 13, 14 years old. He was much younger originally.
Interesting. That honestly makes much more... That makes...
So many things make sense.
Billy shouldn't be 13 or 14 years old. That kind of ruins this movie. But also the base conceit of this movie works so much better if he's actually...
It's clear that they wrote the movie with Billy as like a 13, 14-year-old, aged him up, and didn't go through it with a fine-tooth comb to like catch everything.
Like, why is he living with his parents? Like, renting an apartment in this town probably costs like, I don't know, $40 a month.
It probably costs a buffalo nickel,
right,
and a wink, and you get a lease. Because and also like, why does this 20-something-year-old? Because he is what, 23? Judge Reinhold says he is 20. He is 23, so I assume they're about the same age.
Yeah, I think he's a little older than Billy, but not much. But you're right.
But like, why is this 22-year-old hanging out with 13-year-old Corey Feldman? Like, why are they best friends? Why is the only friend Billy has in this universe a 13-year-old boy? It's weird.
Well, 2 friends, a 13-year-old boy and his old science teacher.
Which again, why were you going? Why do you, a 23-year-old, you discover a biological miracle and anomaly, and your first thought is my middle school science teacher?
Yeah.
Huh?
I love that part of the movie very much.
Yeah, it's
again, this is the kind of things that like we've talked about this a 1,000 times, but it's like the movie needs to be good enough that you don't notice this stuff the first 2 times you watch it.
But also, it could have been.
This movie,
it's a very easy fix to make it his college science professor.
Yeah,
like you could very easily like, hey, I was in your biology class for what was they called that you have to do, the classes you had to do. Not an elective.
Right. Your core requirements.
Yeah, like that. Like it would have been way more sense than like, why is he going to his middle school science teacher?
Right. Or just like make it be the college and he's like, hey, I know you're a science professor. Like, can you answer this question for me? It's kind of a weird one. Make them like, here's a thought. Maybe they're just friends. Maybe they're like drinking buddies. And he's like, you're a science professor at the community college. Here's an idea. Because the other funny thing is this middle school is so well equipped. This man has so much lab equipment.
Yeah, it's wild. 1984 really cared about their education.
He's like staying late, having a sandwich at 2 a.m. with like a spectrometer and a machine that can
spins
blood samples. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's if you watch the movie knowing that Billy was originally 13, a lot of things kind of click into place gently.
Yeah.
Also, I just now realized it's like, why did Barney the dog go to work with Billy.
Makes no sense.
Like, so it's never explicitly said.
Also, as like, I mean, office culture is very different now, but like, I remember back when I was going into office full time, and the dog people are constantly like, "Oh, I wish I could bring my dog in," and I have to be there very quietly, like, "Thank God you can't, because I'm allergic to dogs and it'll ruin my day."
I had one, I think once it was like a day before Christmas. And so it was like like no one really gave a shit. Nothing was getting done. So they brought their tiny little dog in, and everyone just like oohed and awed over it. But like,
I've known people who worked at offices where like it was fine to bring your dog to work every day.
and I don't know about every day, but if I had to pop in, yeah. I mean, I'm sure today if I had to go into the office and with a dog, it would have been fine. It would be fine. But like it's never explicitly stated if Mrs. Peltzer has a salaried job.
It does not seem like the answer is yes.
But then Judge Reinhold is like, Billy, you're supporting your whole family. So it would be weird that one person, like, it'd be weird that she wouldn't have like some kind of salary job. Like she's a.
I thought Judge Reinhold was like telling the truth that like Billy is the one. That's why Billy lives at home, because he has the one salary.
But you would think that she would like, I don't know, like I'm a checkout girl or checkout lady at the A&P
library
or something.
Yeah, work the library.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
It's never explicitly stated whether or not she has a salaried job. And so it's like, well, why isn't the dog at home?
Right.
Other than the plot of the movie.
Right. This is when Mrs. Deagle arrives, our big villain.
Unapologetically, cartoonishly evil. Also, hang on. I wrote Dreamboat Phoebe Cates, but is Dreamboat, can you use that for women? Do people use that for women?
I mean, it's 2024. Live your life.
I know, but like, what is the female equivalent of Dreamboat?
I don't think it is typically used for women. I think that's typically a way that people describe men, but I don't see why you couldn't.
What would the female version of that be?
I mean, what are you going for here?
Well, I said Dreamboat Phoebe Cates, and I was like, well, like if they were writing like
Dreamboat is usually what like a young girl says about her equivalent age young crush, I feel.
Yeah, I was like, so like if an article was a weird article was being written about how she's like
at the time,
yeah, like because sex symbol is like not where like more intense than I want to get.
They would probably call it like girl next door.
Okay, I guess I almost wrote that, but this
your babysitter crush.
Dreamboat's just way better. That sucks. It's just way cleaner.
Well, this is why I didn't argue with the term. I wasn't.
No, I know. It made me think. What did they call women? If boys are dreamboats, which is funny because aren't all boats women?
Yes. I guess you found the problem with the term that has fallen out of cultural fashion 38 years ago.
People still use a dreamboat.
I think old people say it. I don't know that the youth are calling people dreamboats on the TikTok or whatever.
They might. They're weirdos over there.
I think they're talking about whether or not someone's got the Riz.
I think they might use dreamboat. We'll have to see.
I think you're thinking of ads for Mystery Date.
Will he be a dreamboat or a dud?
I think you're exclusively thinking of ads.
That would be a fun Patreon thing. We can play 80s board games.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. We have a sleepover and pierce each other's ears. Why not?
You keep wanting to do that. I will go to a professional to get my ears pierced. Thank you.
No, come on. That's no fun. We'll put a sewing needle and some rubbing alcohol. It'll be fine. I'll put an apple core under your earlobe. I don't want to pierce like your nostril with it, but I think we could get away with an earlobe.
I'd rather go to someone who knows what they're doing.
We'll put the apple under and the ice cube on top.
Yeah, I've seen The Parent Trap.
We'll just. Anyway, I was setting all this up so I could tell my wife's joke, which is that Mrs. Deagle comes in, threatens to have his dog put down, and then says, now you know what to ask Santa for Christmas. And my wife said, yeah, you to get hit by a bus.
So Mrs. Deagle, I never noticed that Dick Miller was in the background of that shot of that scene with now you know what to ask Santa for right outside the bank. For some reason, he's just standing there. I didn't notice.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Deagle is this town's Mr. Potter. And if the whole town just got together and killed her,
It's like that crazy story there is, and I forget what town this happened in, but there was
Oh, the bully.
a guy like this.
Yeah, hang on.
And
No one saw anything. Damn it! I know because I love this story. It's
Missouri.
huh?
It's like Mississippi or Missouri, I want to say.
Yeah, it's definitely a southern state, but this guy was an awful tyrant and a rapist and assaulter who would then marry his victims so that they couldn't testify, and they were also children.
I did not know these details.
Yep.
Christ.
He was Rex McElroy.
Okay. But they murdered him. Like a bunch of people murdered him.
They were like, well, they got together as a town and like, we have to stop him. And the chief of police was like, what if we write him a letter? And they were like, well, okay, so there's nothing. No one's coming to save us if the chief of police is like, let's gently ask him to stop. So they were like, they found out he was next door and everyone followed him out of the bar he was in. And he got shot in the middle of the street, and not one person saw anything happen.
Yeah, it was just like 30 people witnessed it, and no one saw anything. Anyway, moving on, because that was much darker than I remembered. The deleted scenes is actually an interesting part here, because so it happens later in the movie that this is discovered, but Mrs. Deagle is basically trying to do the Mr. Potter thing, where she is getting the bank to foreclose on people, buying their home for nothing, and then once she has amassed enough of the land of the town, which includes Billy's home and Phoebe Cates's home, she's going to sell it to this chemical company to just like come in and make a big factory. And so Phoebe Cates goes into Judge Reinhold's office, finds a map where they've like marked.
Oh, I have seen this. I definitely have seen this deleted scene.
And then Judge Reinhold walks in and was like, "What are you doing in my office?" But I thought that was actually quite interesting. I don't think you need it in this movie. It's like too much plot and not relevant. Like it doesn't matter.
We already hate her. Like she walked in riding a bike. Like
exactly.
Movie language told us to hate her. But yeah, if this whole town got together and just killed her or killed Mr. Potter, a lot of their problems are solved.
I mean, you could just wipe her out and then it's not a problem anymore.
Yeah. All of a sudden, there's no one harping on you. Your evil landlord real estate agent isn't trying to squeeze you out of your home because she's dead.
Right. And so Judge Reinhold, as you alluded to earlier, kind of like...
there's also the weird-ass enabling man as Mrs. Deagle is like twisting the knife in Billy about how all the ways she's going to kill his dog. She says he's going to put the dog in her spin dryer on high heat. And it cuts to this random man who's the mayor man, I think. And he goes, "Yep, that'd do it." And it's like, who are you?
Right.
What are you doing? Get out of here.
Also, why have you wanted to appoint yourself expert of dog murder? And
exactly.
But Judge Reinhold, who's barely in this movie, like if you stopwatch this guy, it's like under 4 minutes, I feel like.
But it's also in his natural habitat, I feel like, as a character actor. Like,
I character actor for sure, but I actually think this is kind of against type of him to be like the big douche, He's
a douche in the Santa Claus.
Oh, I guess you're right. And I feel like in Beverly Hills Cop, he's kind of a sweetheart.
Yeah, in that one, he's definitely a sweetheart. But for me, like my first Judge Reinholds were douches.
And I can't remember if he's a villain or not in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, because it's been so damn long since I watched that movie. So maybe I'm just incorrect. I always think of him as Beverly Hills Cop when he's kind of a nice guy. But he has a crazy deleted scene where later in the movie, after the Gremlins have taken over, they go to the bank and they find the older bank owner dead, like dead on the floor. That you don't really fully see the body, but you see that he's really been killed by the Gremlins pretty horrendously. And then they hear a noise in the vault.
Oh, that's right. It's him.
And he's inside having completely lost his mind, that like he thinks Billy's trying to take his job and stuff. And so Billy and Phoebe Cates just like so there's like the big heavy door of the vault and then like a cage door, and he's behind the cage, and they just kind of slowly close him in. They're like, we'll come back for him later. And that's it. Like even in the deleted scenes, they don't
Ubered out of the movie.
They left Judge Reinhold to asphyxiate in a bank vault, I guess.
I mean, again, hey, maybe that's the real lesson, that this town needs to handle the people that cause problems.
Yeah, maybe.
because next scene, Phoebe Cates is working for free at the local pub tavern.
Yeah. She's trying to keep the lights on there. You know, everybody's dad proposed to their mom in this place. It's like a, local institution.
And that way the owner doesn't have to pay another waitress because she's like, I'll just do it. Telling you a lot about these characters off. Like, they really front load a lot of exposition that doesn't feel expository.
Agreed.
Or belabored. And then Judge Reinhold is like immediately his douche self. Like, can't even get the line about a martini right. That's how much of a doofus he is.
Yeah, but he's, Billy, I'm going to be an executive in a year, and what are you going to be, a bank clerk? Like, really coming after this kid.
I'm going to be a millionaire soon with a weenie whistle.
We go back to Billy's house. It's breakfast time. I love the egg cracker. Like, I think it's a funny idea, but it clearly does not work. But the part of the egg cracker that's a bad design is every time it cracks an egg, it goes, "Burger!"
Yeah.
And I feel like if you're, like, when my wife and I have scrambled eggs, that's 6. That's a lot of burgers every morning. Every weekend morning. I feel like it's a bad choice. I think just the first egg of the day, it should make a burger.
Yeah, I think the first one. But I also love, again, leaning into like how well these characters are written and clear they are. Like, Mom and Billy are so supportive of Dad's stupid inventions.
Yes.
It's just this,
all of which are just dumb. Like, they're all Sharper Image level shit.
Yes, they are. Although Sharper Image,
practical use.
It's also now like Kohl's and Target gifts. Like what once was Sharper Image is now just like gifts for men in Kohl's and Target, and it's like, well, that is
or in Ross or Marshalls or whichever.
Yes,
second swing retail you prefer.
And I love me. I get my opportunity at Marshalls.
I always like to swing in there after Christmas to see which of the gifts for men have been marked down to, like, is this cheap enough that I'll purchase it? Because, like, look, some of them are like dumb little yard games or something.
Yeah.
Like, I would use this. I'm not going to pay for it.
I'm not going to
pay this price for this.
Oh, I remember seeing one that was like, it was at Kohl's, and they were glasses with, I think, a stone bottom, and so you put the whole glass in the freezer so that it would keep things cool. And it was like $90, and I was like, absolutely not. But in 2 months' time, when I come back and this is $15, I just might.
Yeah. But also the thing I kept thinking about with the mom in the scene is, like, this poor beleaguered woman is just like, I can't believe he brought home another fucking pet.
Yes!
We already have a dog. There's no money in this house. We can't feed ourselves.
This dog is in the middle of its life. It's got quite a ways left.
It's like, I need this, like, I need a hole in the head. Like, come on.
But she's still very sweet about it. She doesn't let that show.
She is.
She also, the mom is also Tatum and Dewey's mom in Scream.
Right. For, like, I mean, I think she has one line.
She comes in and says, phones, Nev Campbell, phones for you. Sydney.
I said that's, I said that's why I was like, oh, she's in Scream. She's like, really? We just watched that. And I was like, yeah. And she comes in and tells Sydney that there's a guy on the phone for her, and it turns out to be this guy. And then that's,
I mean, she's she's on screen a little longer than that, but she has a single line of dialogue.
Yeah. So she takes a flash picture of Gizmo, and here we get Howie Mandel doing the bright light. It's pretty good.
I watch this movie a lot. So last year,
oh, go ahead.
We were in Pittsburgh, my boyfriend and I, with staying with some friends, and he went upstairs for something, and the three of us were hanging out, and somehow Gizmo came up, and I don't remember how, but it did, and then.
But I don't remember how. You're saying you don't remember how you figured out.
No, truly, it was not. It was not, because what happened next was.
Come on, you're a lady.
No, not for this one. I would cop up to this.
This is a game I've played. Come on.
I would cop up to it. But what happened was it was me and our 2 other friends all ended up singing the Gizmo song in the Gizmo voice. We all went like. And my boyfriend came down and was like, what was that sound? And we were like, it was the Gizmo song.
I lost my place in the notes. I got distracted. Oh, this is where I realized the Mogwai are aliens, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind if there was a total eclipse of the sun moment from Little Shop.
Well, That's the thing I was thinking, because the intro to this, and I'm so glad you said this because I didn't write this down when I had the thought. The intro to this is so much the Little Shop of Horror intro of like I'm shocked they've never musicalified this, because you could so easily do the like da da da.
The problem is the Gremlins themselves would make it really not fun to do a musical.
Why is that?
Because it's just it's tiny, it's small puppetry, and it's I feel like it's
I think
big puppets are Broadway.
I think you need Gizmo to be a little puppet, but I think the Gremlins could be people in like a morph suit, like real skinny.
You think huge ass people are playing the Gremlins?
Yeah, like Lion King style. Like with,
I don't know.
You know, like the head on their head, and they're I think
that scale stops working the second you have a human being and then a gremlin the same size.
But what if they're not ever standing?
Who's not ever standing?
The Gremlins. So you have like Billy stands on his 2 feet, and the Gremlin is like squatted down with their butt on the floor, basically.
So your solution is some poor actor is in a squat the whole time.
But they're not on screen. They're not on stage that much. Like, they're on stage and they do some crazy hijinks and then they're off stage. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want
they're gonna be on stage the whole time because that's what they did to Beetlejuice.
There's not like a part in Gremlins where there's like an I Want song from Stripe in the musical that I'm creating. It's not like he gets out there and is like, I just want to be.
I mean, that is the voice that he has in the sequel.
I know. That's why I did that voice. What I'm just saying is like, I just don't think like Stripe is out there, really giving, Gizmo doesn't come out and be like, don't feed me after midnight. You're like, that's not part of it in my head. Yeah, I think they're on their haunches, Andy Serkis style.
You and I can see how long we can hold that at Christmas.
I'm not a professional actor. I don't desire to be Stripe on the Broadway, but certainly
no one does.
I think there are people out there who are like, yeah, I want to be Stripe. Or alternatively, get a bunch of kids out there.
No one wants to do that. When I did Little Mermaid, and I had to deal with kids, they were the worst part. They got their own dressing room because no one wanted to talk to them.
Well, that's you get us.
We were like, they were like, there was one two babysitters in that whole room, and we just shoved them in there and shut the door. And we were like, we'll call you when it's time for Under the Sea, and that's it. They came out for Under the Sea and the finale, and that was it.
I think this would work. I think this would work. Because, like, most of the Gremlin scenes are just, like, chaos. It's like trashing the camp in Tarzan.
which is a good number.
So Gizmo gets my favorite role in movies.
Well, hang on. Let's go back. Let's hold space for that.
For the more musicals?
No, God, no. Absolutely not. No.
Of, like,
that bit met its natural conclusion. No.
Also, wait, hold on. Sidebar on musical. You know how Elf only pops up for like a 2-month run every year?
It's not every year. It's weird that they brought it back because it does not do that every year.
Well, but it's like it pops up for the holidays.
Yeah, usually at your local regional theater.
Okay, well, what if we did like we had Gremlins and then like we just had a seasonal pop-up holiday show and was like Elf on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Gremlins.
So you want to run Elf and Gremlins in rep.
And what I want to do is the people who play the Gremlins get like in Elf they don't have to squat down for 2 hours.
They play humans in Elf.
They get a break in Elf. Yeah, they get no. Actually, no. They also play the elves, so they're on their knees for Elf, and then they're in a squat for Gremlins. It's the perfect double role.
I thought you said you wanted to not make them do that.
Everybody gets a double knee replacement as part of their contract.
Jesus Christ.
No, I think you would do it so that like the cast of Gremlins plays the elves, and then the elves get to, you know what I mean? And so like
I think you're trying to say is the Gremlins play humans in Elf, and then
yes.
And then the
non-Gremlin humans play elves.
Yeah, you were not saying that correctly, but I got you there.
So like Stripe, it's the same actor playing Stripe and Buddy the Elf.
You think not Gizmo? You think Stripe is going to be Buddy, not Gizmo?
I think Gizmo's a puppet. I think Gizmo's an offstage actor singing.
Okay.
Gizmo is too cute and fun to not be a puppet.
But that's such a small puppet.
Style puppet. I know, but we make him a little bigger. We make him Kermit the Frog size.
Okay. Anyway, no. I said let's go back to your alien theory.
Yes.
And
Okay.
we did it for the Xenomorph, so we'll do it for my favorite movie. The biology and life cycle of a Mogwai is kind of all over the place.
It makes no sense. Much like Alien, it doesn't
Yeah,
make a whole lot of
when
sense.
you stop and think too hard, because it seems to me that all Mogwai have the biological imperative to become a gremlin. Like, other than Gizmo, they all want to eat after midnight. Other than Gizmo,
They also all seek out water. To
yeah,
multiply
except for
things.
Gizmo. He's kind of his own thing. He's stunted emotionally, doesn't want to grow up, whatever. But so it's just very strange that is part of it, because it's like that is the epitome of humans controlling the biology of a creature to keep it small and adorable. They're like they wants to eat after midnight, and humans are like,
so
no,
this
you're
is like,
staying
this
cute.
Is like he's like a puppy mill.
It's like a puppy mill,
Grem.
and like
Yeah.
I like the broader strokes version of this, wherein white people ruin everything because they don't respect nature, is great.
Yeah.
But then you peel back an onion layer, and you're like, well, wait a minute, because a lot of people,
it seems like these animals are being treated poorly
overall everyone's kind of sucks, because they're all forcing the animals to not evolve into their next form. Like I don't all caterpillars turn into butterflies that do, like, I'm sure there's some caterpillars that like
I
don't, like, but that's like not
but I
part of their
assume so, yeah.
biology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Did we talk about caterpillar into butterfly as part of the xenomorph into alien thing? Because I feel like that resolves some of our.
It doesn't, because they're different. It is a xenomorph lays eggs that shoot out a face hugger that makes a xenomorph. So it's like A makes B makes A makes B, which is not really how any other creature works.
Well, caterpillar makes butterfly. So caterpillar.
But
is
does butterfly make
it's a face
caterpillar,
hugger.
or does caterpillar make caterpillar?
Yeah. No, I think the butterfly makes the caterpillars.
I don't.
Like, they lay their eggs or whatever, and those hatch, and those are face huggers, which then.
But I thought
become-
I didn't know that butterflies laid caterpillar eggs. I thought caterpillars laid.
I think they do. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I think.
But apparently they allegedly. I'm not a science person, so I'm going to say allegedly.
Okay.
When they're in the cocoon, they like completely gooify and reform.
Yeah.
It is a nightmare process.
Yeah.
No,
it's horrible. It is truly horrible. But I think you might have cracked the face hugger.
I don't. We'll have to do a little more research, because I don't know if I believe that butterflies like caterpillar eggs. I need to know that.
Anybody out there, if anybody out there is knows enough about biology to tell us if we're right, yeah, you should.
We will also probably have Googled by the time you tweet, but please tweet.
Dissecting the 80s on Blue Sky.
Oh yeah,
hit us up.
What do we say? Do we say anything for blue when you blueski?
I think it's post.
Oh, it's not as unique.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't invent it.
Female
butterflies lay eggs on specific plants called host plants, so the hatching caterpillars have food to eat.
Oh, so they do. Okay.
We just solved
Alien. So Alien does that. There is one other creature.
We did it. We did it. Join the Patreon to get that Alien episode.
Yeah, well, because I know there is also the way some people can read this movie as like, minorities come into town and ruin things, because
I think that is a psychopathic reading of this, but it is a.
I don't think it's fully psychopathic. I do think it is a few layers too deep.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like way, way deeper than this movie intends.
But because I do like the idea that like white people ruin things. Like that's what it is.
Well, that is the explicit message of the movie, which is like, we should have better respect for nature and its creatures. That is like on the table. But the whole idea of like the Gremlins are an analog for like racism, I just find to be a little bit beyond the grasp. But that's just me. You can have your own opinions.
Yeah.
Gizmo gets a head wound, as I aspire to in a film.
Yes, he does. There's also, so the next morning there's this dramatic like 2001: A Space Odyssey orange juicer shot.
Oh, okay. So I love the trepidation look for OJ, and I was like, what are we talking about? Billy being like, oh god, I got to use the orange juicer.
Well, you could also see Billy fighting off a laugh when it explodes in his face, because obviously he like everything was planned and all that. But you could watch him like the little half smile we all do when we're in a situation like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Mm-hmm. it sprays orange bits all over the kitchen, and
Pulp and goop.
Feldman rolls in delivering a tree dressed as a tree, and then like somehow ditches the tree costume in the front room of the Peltzer house, I guess.
But then they take it up to the attic where Billy lives.
And pours himself a nice tall glass of moo juice that he's just swigging on as he's hanging out with Billy in his room.
Well, also, there's a line where...
The classic 13-year-old boy, 22-year-old man hangout.
Well, the 22-year-old man changes his shirt. Just want to say it out loud.
Yeah.
But...
Somehow Doc Brown and Marty does not bother me the way this bothers
because
me.
It's like the age difference that big is they're both adults. Right? No, they're not. He's a teenager.
Right. Marty's in high school. Yeah.
So I lied. But he feels like an adult.
He's probably past the age of consent if you want to get gross about it.
He could be.
He's probably over 16 is what I'm saying, which is the age of consent.
But you can only consent to people who are under 18. And depending on Romeo laws.
I don't know what Hill Valley.
I don't know what Hill Valley, California has. Twin Pines, Lone Pine. I think it's also that Michael J. Fox looks like an adult human, and so it doesn't feel weird to see two like it's a big age gap.
Also, there's never anything in Back to the Future that feels like remotely sexual.
Yeah, there's not a scene where Marty has to do one of those like science class showers. In Doc's barn, like
yeah.
Oh, Marty, you got some goop on you. You better go to the shower station.
Jesus, goop! What are you? You've made it so uncomfortable. Christ, I don't want to hear about your Back to the Future porn parody fanfic. Keep it to yourself. Keep the goo to yourself.
I couldn't think of a science term. Goop was the first thing that came to mind.
How about chemicals?
I guess, sure.
You're gonna get a chemical burn, Marty. Get under the shower. Quick, take your clothes off.
Why is the camera on, Doc?
You are horrible.
I had to say it. But it's...
Is that Huey Lewis in the news?
But it's funny because
speaking of people getting splashed with goo, Gizmo gets a bunch of
before that
paintbrush water on him.
Feldman accidentally covers Gizmo with the blanket when he like moves it on the bed and he goes, "Oh, Doctor, crazy comic number 1. Where did you get this?" And Billy has to think about where he got it. I'm like, are there more than one comic book store in this town?
My headcanon for this was Billy sometimes goes to Comic-Con with Dad as he tries to hawk his inventions.
Oh, okay. That I like. I like that headcanon. But I was like, you're telling me this podunk town with tyrannical Mrs. Deagle?
Although, you know what? Back in the day, there was probably the comic book store, but there's probably also like a spinner rack at the drugstore or the Five and Dime or whatever. So maybe there was just like more than one place to buy
those tall
comic books in
spinners.
town. Yeah.
Defo.
Of like it wouldn't be like as many titles or whatever as the hobby shop had, but like maybe there was a spinner rack with just like, some
Archie, Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
But so like you said, Corey Feldman knocks a paint glass over onto Gizmo, who pops out little baby fuzzballs.
Marty, the goo got on the phone monster. Quick, get the camera. There's goo everywhere. It's like a Nintendo game in here all of a sudden.
What Nintendo game? Earthbound?
Luigi's Mansion.
Oh, Gooigi.
Yes. There's like the first time I got to Gooigi in Luigi's Mansion, I was like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. His name is Gooigi.
It's brilliant. I love Gooigi. But so Corey Feldman sees Gizmo and is like enthralled. I want one, making him blink his eyes. He gets him wet and he pops out new Gizmos, and immediately Corey Feldman's like, I don't give a shit. Whatever.
He does ask for one, I think.
For like half a second, but then he's like going back to the comic book, and Billy's like, this is incredible. And he's like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. I guess, sir.
Also, I did not notice, I think it's very prevalent in this scene, but like, and I think other people have made this comment over the years, but the Furby is so Gizmo.
Oh, it's stolen. 100% stolen.
Yeah.
100%.
We have a little dad interlude here where he's casually eating shaving cream. I don't know if you.
I didn't catch him eating it. Is he?
He licks it off his lips.
Oh.
It like sprays him in the face because Billy's like asking about the bathroom buddy, and the dad has it all over him, and he starts like wiping it off, and then he licks it off his lips, and like as if it's whipped cream. And I was like, "What did you put in there, pal?" Speaking of goo everywhere, Marty, grab the camera.
Grab the bathroom buddy.
His face. He's got goo all over his face. There's our money shot. There's a thumbnail.
I bet there's some OnlyFans with a weird.
So many people are gonna click on this on YouTube. I have to put a NSFM at the top of this episode.
Or like no,
Sorry,
or
Mom,
just
you're not
we're
allowed
not
to
explaining any of these jokes, Mom, if you don't understand them.
yeah. If you get them, don't tell us.
But yeah, so Dad was home the whole time in his workshop. So Billy's like, "Hey, they multiplied with water," and immediately, just like in Little Shop of Horrors, Mr. Peltzer's like, "Everyone in America is gonna want one of these, the Peltzer pet." Now you've been talking about deleted scenes. I would love there to be a deleted scene of the Mogwai doing this to Barney the dog.
Yeah,
They string up Barney the dog by Christmas lights outside, and they are the size of a Furby. And I want to know how this happened.
Yeah, it's got to be like a series of pulleys and cranks and just like 1, 2, 3 heave, 1, 2, 3 heave. Isn't there a scene like this in Muppet Treasure Island where the rats are like lifting the other rats onto the boat with like a pulley?
Oh, you know what? I think they do that. I do think that happens.
That's what I'm picturing. Yeah.
But they all assume the humans assume that it was Mrs. Deagle somehow, which like rightfully so.
Yeah. But like also I feel like Mrs. Deagle would have hit the dog, like killed the dog, but not like made it like this is a Michael Myers-esque tableau. You know what I mean? Like I could see Deagle killing the dog, but not necessarily like making an art piece out of the corpse.
I feel like she probably, if she was she would have just killed it and left it on the front, like the welcome mat.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the snowman head on it.
Yes, of course. This is the high school science teacher. I guess it's middle.
It's middle school. It's not high school. It's middle school.
Right. Yeah. But this is the him running some tests. Dick Miller absolutely shit-faced at the bar. Very good drunk acting here.
It is great drunk acting. Complaining about foreign parts.
And ranting about Gremlins.
So I never noticed this before. I think it's when he sits in his car and he starts talking about Gremlins, the music changes.
Yes.
I've watched this movie, I'm going to conservatively 50 times. Like, not a joke. Probably watched this movie 50 times. I've never noticed that musical shift. And it is this, like, quiet, haunting musical motif.
It's honestly kind of like the Quint speech in Jaws, the U.S.
It's exactly that.
Yeah, it's very much what they're going for here.
And I'm also glad they don't let him drive.
Yeah,
because it's the 80s, and who cared?
Yeah. Her being like, maybe you should walk home, and him being like, yeah, I should walk home. You're like, oh God, thank God someone's paid attention. We get the snowy walk home. In my head, this is where the dead dad story comes in.
Oh no, it'd be way too early for that.
I know, and I was like waiting for the dead dad story to pop up, and I was like, oh, I guess it happens later in the movie.
It's just her admitting she hates Christmas, and then I'm pretty sure BS statistic about people committing suicide around the holidays.
I have always heard that. I've never looked it up, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was a higher rate of suicide at the end of December compared to other end of months.
I remember reading somewhere that it was touted but never really backed up.
Okay, interesting. That would make sense, as most statistics are.
Phoebe Cates hates Christmas and won't talk about it.
Billy asks her out on a date. She says yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Gremlins have changed the clock, and he doesn't know it. He's back at home, and so he's like,
well, to be fair, they didn't tell the audience either, which was nice.
Yeah, that's true. And then Billy goes down to like get them something to eat, and inside the Peltzer fridge is a tray of 30 to 40 chicken legs.
They went to Royal Farms.
Oh, I was thinking this was like these were on clearance and Mama Peltzer was like, oh good, I can get like food for the week. I'm just gonna make all these chicken legs and then we'll just use them for different meals. And then Billy feeds them all to the gremlins. And I'm imagining her like, there's a scene where she like opens the fridge and just breaks down in tears. She's like,
we have to eat Christmas cookies for dinner this week.
We have no protein now because you fed it to the fucking gremlins, you idiot.
Also, the gremlins eating chicken is me and my boyfriend eating Royal Farms after the bar. Exactly like
you
that.
know Royal Farms that close to you?
Yes, I love it. There's one like it's less than 5 minutes away or 5 minutes away. It's so close.
My wife and I have a big fight over the Rofo because she doesn't care for it. I agree.
What my new favorite thing at Royal Farms is it is crispy chicken salad. And so they make chicken salad with the fried chicken with like extra crispy skin bits thrown in there. So you get like nice salty crispy crunch as you're eating your chicken salad.
You're saying chicken salad is in like the mayo,
like the mayo-y like chicken salad.
Yeah.
But it's got crispy chicken skin.
Dad started making that with leftover fried chicken, and then every time I get fried chicken, I get extra and make the chicken salad with it as well.
Oh, okay. I just buy it.
You throw the crispies in there. Yeah, I like a chicken breast, but it's not my favorite. So like, there's usually one left over, and it's like, I'm gonna shred this bad boy up and throw some mayo in there.
Mm-hmm.
Disgusting close-ups of eating for the gremlins.
Me and my boyfriend eating Royal Farms after the bar's closed.
Very disgusting.
Sitting on our couch watching Bluey destroying chicken.
Then we get the poddening of gremlins, which is very alien.
We get some good dramatic irony with the invasion of the body snatchers. Also, this science teacher takes a bite of sandwich, puts it on the foil, and goes, "Well, I'm leaving for the night." What?
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't leave like the crust. He leaves 3/4.
He takes a single bite of the half a sandwich on the diagonal and just leave it out. Do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants.
Or this is how you get gremlin pupil stage. Because he's gonna get this. The dad makes a phone call from this inventor convention he's at, and it's very funny to me that I am almost positive I can tell you exactly who all these props came from, because there's a great documentary called Bob Burns' Hollywood Halloween.
Oh, that guy.
It's about this. Yeah. We've talked about him on the podcast before. Unfortunately, the documentary is not really able to be seen. I had a copy of it that someone on Reddit gave to me, but I've lost it since. But Bob Burns owned the Time Machine from the Time Machine and a Robbie the Robot. It's Robbie the Robot.
I think so, yeah.
So I did not look this up, and I probably should have. I thought of it while watching it and just remembered it now. But I would be shocked if Bob Burns wasn't the reason for this. But he's on the phone. Robbie the Robot comes walking by, and I don't know if you caught this.
Oh, the Time Machine? Yes.
That it disappears and works? Yes. Okay. I don't know that I'm sure I've noticed that before and forgotten it, but it's great that they do that. That people, I love the second shot where a bunch of people are like poking at the air as if it went invisible and it's just not there.
Yeah. So this is where I wrote Billy is such a himbo, because
yes,
he sees the eggs, the pods or whatever, the facehugger eggs. They look remarkably similar.
It's very aliens. Yeah.
And Mom's like, "Did you feed him after midnight?" And he's like, "I get it. I gave him food, but I made sure it was before." And then he sees the clock hasn't changed, and he picks it up, and it's clearly been chewed and frayed.
Yes. Yeah.
And he turns and he's like, "What's going on here, Mom?" Like,
yeah.
You sweet dumb idiot.
Like they can't possibly have done it, right?
Mrs. Deagle cuts the line at the bank in front of all these people to say deposit this check, and this is where I wrote, "Hey, if we all killed her, we all might have better lives."
Exactly. It would be great.
Hey, you go lock the door to the bank. We'll just toss her in the bank vault. Come back in a couple days.
I just did a quick Google. Seems like Bob Burns had or has a bunch of the Gremlins props, so my guess is that was like the exchange here. Yeah. I also love the sequence where we see them all hatching. Gizmo's hiding in like a
space helmet.
I thought it was more like a motocross type, like
I guess
a serious helmet for BMX biking or whatever, like with the chin strap, but the chin.
He's like shaking and quivering. His eyes are all wide as he looks around.
Yeah.
And it looks and sounds so good. Like the soundscape on this movie is so wonderful, and I'm it's part of my vocal stims. I've realized is that like it happens a couple times in the background. You just hear like, They like pop it in there like when they're hatching or when they're multiplying.
Yeah.
For some reason, that sound has like burned itself into my brain.
Probably because you watched the movie 50 times, as you said.
Yeah, maybe. So they all hatch, and the middle school science teacher. This scene is a really great use of like what you don't see. You just see like chairs, squeaking on the ground and like stuff fluttering. Billy comes in and sees the teacher dead with one syringe in the butt, which was not how it was originally scripted. Do you know how it was originally scripted?
It doesn't he get like peeled?
No, in the original, his face was full of syringes.
Oh, okay. Do you know the one about the mom? I'm sure you do.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Because I have so much to say about that scene in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like being able to read the script or like hear what it was supposed to be. It's the same with like the original Beetlejuice script is fun to read, but I don't want it to have replaced what we got instead.
Yeah. That makes total sense to me. The gremlin in the school escapes. Do we ever figure out which gremlin this is, or does he remain at large at the end?
No, I mean, he probably joined up with the gang.
Okay. Because there's a world in which that's your like sequel setup, right?
Yeah, it could be. Also, Billy is just so dumb. I know I called him a himbo, but like, you know that these creatures can't stand bright lights. You go into a classroom that's pitch black with a dead teacher, and your first thought isn't, let me turn on all the fucking lights.
Right, exactly. Like, protect yourself a little bit, Billy. Come on now.
He tries to call his mom, and they turn off the phone. They rip the phone cable out. Phone home caca.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
Little
Spielberg having fun with himself.
She also Mrs. Peltzer heard thumping and grabbed a knife before she went upstairs.
Yeah,
I love her. She's a feminist icon.
It's amazing, right?
And I will not be accepting any critiques on that take.
No, she's great. She's great. How do you not like this character? She rules.
This movie is what I think of every single time I hear "Do You Hear What I Hear?" Like, to me, it's not a Christmas song. Mm-hmm. It's a song from this movie.
It's the Gremlins song.
It's a song from the movie Gremlins.
She is great here, though. Like, I love that she gets this sequence where she gets to kick some ass. She gets one with the frying pan. She's like using a cookie.
No, no, not the frying pan. She gets him in the mixer.
Oh, I was thinking of the cookie shield. I thought she hit one with the frying pan and then got it in the blender.
No, it's in the blender. She turns it on. Then one throws a plate at her, so she picks up a TV tray, and her knife is a shield, and she screams, "Get out of my kitchen!" and stabs it. And then the
microwave gremlin is mine.
It is mine too. Although I will say, it is strange that while she's currently baking, she has roach and tick spray, or flea and tick spray out. It seems like a recipe for spraying the wrong thing on your cookie sheet.
Yeah.
Far be it for me to question Mrs. Peltzer, who I love.
Maybe maybe this is her devious plan.
These cookies are all poison anyways.
Yeah, and this is how she wants to get rid of Mrs. Deagle.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say she's going to get rid of Billy and Rand.
I don't think it would be Billy. I think it would be the dad.
It would be Rand, yeah.
She took out a life insurance policy.
Mm-hmm. After she takes out the kitchen gremlins, which, by the way, for those of you keeping score at home, that puts Mrs. Peltzer at 3 gremlins killed. Mm-hmm. Billy's big old goose eggs.
Yeah.
She takes one knife out of the knife block to go investigate more, and pauses and grabs a second knife. And I'm like, that's my girl!
Dual wielding. Yeah, I love it. We got the tree gremlin here.
With the red glowing eyes.
And finally, Chekhov's sword comes into play, because the sword that keeps falling down in the front of the house is used to knock this one, behead this one
into the fireplace. And then Stripe disappears. We see Stripe in the window, and he jumps out. He just dumps his mom at their doctor's house. Or I don't know if it's their neighbor who is a doctor, or if he is their doctor.
I think it's probably both, given how small this town is.
Yeah, everything's walkable. And then he and Gizmo go to the Y to follow Stripe. And again, Billy, and just real quick, did you try a light switch? Because they're in the pitch black Y.
Or a flashlight.
He has a flashlight, but like, what he sees Stripe jump into the pool, and if he just went over and flicked on all the lights, You think
Yeah.
the harsh fluorescent overhead, unforgiving, unflattering light of the YMCA wouldn't just turn that pool into goop?
You would think.
It would be a shorter movie, so I'm glad he didn't. But also, like, come on,
Marty, get the camera. The whole pool. It's all
jump in, Marty.
Hey, it's screw all the way down.
Die head first, Marty.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
You went there. I just also took it there.
You took it further than I took it. I just said, get the camera, Marty. The pool's goo. Oh, man.
Again, this pool scene has really, again, with the great soundscape and the lighting, and the pool is bubbling and smoking, and all these lights are flashing underneath.
It's honestly straight out of like a 1980s alien sci-fi movie, or 1950s alien sci-fi.
Oh yeah. Also, it looks like a fun foam party that I would go to.
Marty, it's a foam party.
Like, oh, your foam party, Marty.
Invite all your friends over. I can't believe I've ruined a character that I love so dearly.
Hey.
We get the little stop motion invasion here, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, the horde. But, well, actually, he goes to the cops first.
Oh, that's right.
And again,
that's right.
the cops are useless and lazy and
yes,
awful in this town, which...
Oh, there's a gremlin, you say?
Checking boxes for me. The poor Futtermans.
Yeah.
They were supposed to die.
Hilarious that they didn't... Well, I mean, they clearly die, and then Gremlins 2, they were like, oh, I can't make a movie without...
Well, they never officially say they died. Mrs. Deagle gets
but you
officially
watch it-
declared dead in this movie.
You watch a snowplow basically run them over from point blank range. It's easy to assume what happened.
Also, the gremlin rag fucking slaps. It's so good. It's so good.
You in the club, like, do you have the gremlin rag?
I'm going to go to Show Tune Sunday at Tavern on Kamak. I'm going to request they play the gremlin rag.
I'm picturing you in like a real environment. Hey, do you have the gremlin rag? People are like, what the fuck?
Also, Mrs. Futterman is a longtime collaborator of Roger Corman, just like Dick Miller is. She played Audrey, the original Audrey from Little Shop.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Dick Miller did not play Seymour because he had just played the Seymour role in Bucket of Blood, which was the real movie they were making before he was like, we got 3 days on this set. We might as well make another movie.
Yeah.
And Dick Miller was like, I'm not doing the same role again.
Is he in that movie at all?
Yeah, he plays a customer who likes to eat flowers. That's his stick. He pulls out little salt and pepper shakers from his jacket and salts flowers and then chomp.
Okay. Is that in the musical version or the Rick Moranis version?
No, they're weirdo customers, but not that.
Not that one. Okay.
Yeah.
We have this priest who is like mailing some letters, and there's a longer version of this scene in the deleted scenes, which it doesn't really add anything.
No.
But I love that a priest is like, oh, there's something in the mail.
I'll let the mayor.
Hey, you want to go first?
Mr. Mayor.
We finally get a call coming in about the Gremlins.
Mm-hmm.
So the cops start investigating.
First we get Mrs. Deagle's death, which is so satisfying.
Oh, sorry.
I said love. I wrote love to hate these cops, but they don't. They abandon Santa after that.
This is where they're no, not that part. This is where they're still in the in the office, and because there's the great line where the Mike Ehrmantraut's like, I'm gonna drive, and the sheriff's like, no, I'm gonna drive, and you hear him off screen go, you always get to drive.
Well, he goes, the sheriff goes, no, I'm driving. You're drunk, and then Ben Wyatt's dad goes, you always get to drive.
But yes, this is the great Mrs. Deagle death.
I love, she first goes to like terrorize what she thinks are carolers, and all of the gremlins are wearing cute little caroling outfits as if they raided an American Girl store.
That actually is one of the deleted scenes.
They kill the carolers, right?
You don't see them kill the carolers, but you hear the carolers singing, and then Stripe pops out of the snow, and he is like bopping his head back and forth as if it's his favorite song. But that's where I was like, well, wait a minute, the snow is wet. Shouldn't he be going bop, 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 bop?
Uh-huh.
Also, Mrs. Deagle, that fucking monster, was going to throw a pitcher of water onto the carolers, which is just like, I mean, you might kill a person doing that. Like, you could give someone pneumonia.
Severe hypothermia. Yeah, she's terrible.
Yeah.
They mess with her chairlift. Yeah. And it's a big spiral staircase. And
it actually looks fun as hell until the very
end. Yeah. Well, so as someone who's more chronically online than you, there's been an influx of Wicked memes. And my favorite is the one where it's Mrs. Deagle at the base of the stairs, and it's, I'm the one you want. It's me. And then the like music swells as the chair swirls around, and she rockets through the window, and it goes, ah, which is the perfect blend for me. Yeah. The cops see Mrs. Deagle get launched and killed. This is also where we learn she's a real estate agent. Right before her death, it says Deagle Real Estate, and then the cops see Santa, or a guy dressed as Santa, not the real Santa. Well, for movies, we have to clarify.
Yeah, of course.
And he's literally screaming for help, covered in gremlins, and they just roll up the window and are like, I want to go back to the station now. And it's like, do your fucking job, pig!
This is the part where they need the joke from Christmas with the Cranks where the gloves get caught in the window.
Yes!
It needs to be Santa's gloves caught in the window as they drive away.
No, it needs to be gremlin claws. And there's just a gremlin.
Well, I wanted them abandoning Santa in his time.
I do too, but I think they can take one gremlin with them. Like a gremlin tries to get in the car as they're rolling it up, and so he's just like he's like a window Garfield. And
in the musical version, that gremlin will get to sit on like a little scooter next to the car on stage. And
no, it'll sit. It gets to lie on top of the car and give its poor legs a break.
Okay, he gets to get off his haunches.
Yeah, thank God. There's.
The Gremlins attack Rockin' Ricky on the radio, which I think is really fun, especially with later where he's like, nothing can kill Rockin' Ricky.
Rockin' Ricky Rialto, and his billboard, he looks like Indiana Jones. There's more chaos. The Gremlins are attacking Corey Feldman, and he takes a ribbon cutting ceremony shears and cuts his Christmas lights, which are still lit after he cuts them, which isn't how those work.
I also love is this the chaos at the bar bit here?
We're about together, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. The one gremlin in the bar chaos has a cigarette and a toothpick in his mouth. Like cigarette on the left.
I didn't catch that.
Right. It's like the dangling in your mouth toothpick, right? Like he's not using it to clean his teeth, but he has a cigarette and a toothpick simultaneously.
Also, Kate, why are you serving them?
Yeah,
like I get it. It's funny. This movie is camp, and I love it. But like, if we stop and think, why are you serving them, Kate? You should leave.
Yeah, it seems like they won't let her leave. Like they keep throwing stuff at her, and it seems like she's like, well, if I'm serving them, they're not doing that. But I feel like there's a better choice.
It's a weird. It's always been a little weird to me that Kate serves the gremlins.
Honestly, my guess is in that darker original script, maybe there's a bunch of corpses in the bar.
Oh, I bet.
Maybe there's a bunch of dead patrons, and she's like, oh, I'm surviving because I'm feeding them.
Yeah. And this is another scene where they're all getting wet because there's beer splashing, there's spitting beer.
Oh, sure.
There's one guy under the tap and his beer overflows out of his mouth as his little belly gets big.
Yeah,
they're all covered in beer and they're not.
Yeah, right. They're not popping. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Plot hole.
Bad movie. I love the gremlin in Mrs. Deagle's wig.
That's a sin. Bling.
Oh, yeah.
Bling. Bling.
I liked that in the beginning, and then it just got too fucking pedantic, and I was like, all right.
My favorite was the guy who did Kong Skull Island, which is a movie that fucking slaps, being like, responding to it blow by blow, where they're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. He's like, yeah, because we explain it in the next fucking scene. It's called interesting things for the audience.
Yeah, that drives me when people are like, well, I don't understand this right away, so it's dumb. And I'm like, would you let the movie be a movie? The movie will tell you what it wants you to know.
Yeah.
If the credits roll and you still don't understand things that weren't explained, then fine. But let the movie be the movie.
Right. We also got the dad before the trashing the bar scene.
I could do without all the dad cutaways.
Oh, you know what? The cigarette and toothpick simultaneously might be the guy.
Oh, the guy, not the gremlin.
Gas station. Yeah. Because I have that right before Smokeless Ashtray. So maybe he is doing a cigarette and a toothpick simultaneously. We have a jazz gremlin in the bar, also kind of fun. He's wearing like dark shades.
He's like a noir detective, and then there's a gremlin with hand puppets.
And then she figures out the camera flash trick.
Oh, and we get knockoff flash dance.
Yes. Here's a fun, dumb thing. There's a guy who on, I think it's TikTok, some social media, people like send him clips of hockey games in the backgrounds of movies and TV, and he figures out like what the game that is on in the shot. And this one, he like got it down to the right 2-year stretch for the University of New Hampshire hockey team. And then he like went to the archives at the University of New Hampshire, and there was like a really fun article from the archives being like, this guy reached out. It was kind of a wild ask. And we were like, yeah, we love these kinds of questions. And they like helped him figure out which game it was. Like they worked together to suss out.
That's so
which
cool.
game it was. Yeah, it was pretty neat. Downtown is in complete chaos, just like total disarray.
They try and get Billy comes and saves her with his headlights through the window, much like Hocus Pocus. Their car won't start, so they have to make. He's like, we have to make a run for it, and I'm like, you should probably say where before you get out of the car into the chaos.
What is the safe haven you're attempting to get to, buddy? We cut back to Dad, who has pitched this smokeless ashtray to the man with the cigarette
That isn't working at all.
And it's just billowing smoke out of it, which is fun. It's like 50 cigarettes worth of smoke in this thing.
Yeah. They hide in the bank. Billy catches Kate up, and this is where we get the iconic monologue. It's so out of pocket, but like I have to say, Phoebe Cates does a great job with it, even with the weird joke at the end.
Yeah, but just the whole like why is there a monologue in the middle of this movie about the girl's dad dying in the chimney and like festering there for weeks? It's such an insane way for this.
In another movie, it's a great monologue, and no one bats an eye at it.
Yeah, but like it could be as simple as like the classic, my dad went out for a pack of smokes. You know what I mean? Like he just never came home.
Well, so Joe Dante wanted it in there because he was like, this movie is like, he was like, I want you to never know if you're supposed to laugh or be scared or whatever in this movie.
Yeah.
So I get it. And then they really make fun of it in the sequel, which is great.
Yeah.
She gets flashed on Lincoln's birthday, I think.
Yeah. So the Gremlins are watching Snow White.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has Mickey ears on, which I think is kind of fun.
I also always love when they walk through the town before they get to the movie theater. In the aftermath, there's this like very slowed down Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Is that the song? Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm. No.
Is it Oh Holy Night? No.
It might be Oh Holy Night.
Sleep in heavenly peace. But it's like a very slowed down, like really fits the mood of the scene.
I guess it is Oh Holy Night.
No. Also, the Gremlins are loving Snow White.
Yeah, they are just like gaga for it. They're so excited by it. It's very cute.
Singing along, doing the thing. They open a gas main and start a fire, but then get caught by their own shadow.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. It also made me think of that bit in what is the Quentin Tarantino movie where they're talking about how dangerously flammable
Inglourious
film
Bastards.
is. Yeah. That like this is very similar to that.
We get a lot of great explosion shots when they trap the Gremlins inside to die, and then we see Stripe was not in the theater. He went out for Milk Duds, I think he says.
Yeah, he sees candy across the street, just like a neon sign that says candy, and he just like goes sprinting over there.
I am much like a gremlin, I guess. I'm motivated by candy and
yeah, sure.
I eat fried chicken like a monster, and I shouldn't eat after midnight, but I do.
If the shoe fits,
we get an earned kiss.
Yeah,
and this is also the watching where I noticed Billy doesn't break the already broken window Stripe was in.
Right.
He breaks the one next to it.
I mean, look, sometimes you just get an opportunity and you got to take it. You know?
Which, like, I would, yes, but it just seems weird in the movie world. And then, so they're in the department store. We get the wall of TVs that used to be a thing.
Billy hitting one with a golf club?
Baseball bat, I think.
Baseball bat. Very satisfying.
Did we ever go to one with a camera on it?
I don't recall ever seeing this in real life, but it does pop up in movies a lot.
Yeah.
There's like
it was like the Brady Bunch did it.
Attached. Yeah. I think it even is in 40-Year-Old Virgin, which is like the last vestiges of that as a pop culture. Yeah. There's a joke in 40-Year-Old Virgin about VCR DVD combo players.
Wow. Okay.
There's a little ET on the shelf on one of the department store shelves.
Well, that's where Stripe is hiding. Stripe is hiding in the stuffies with an ET stuffy.
I just, Spielberg, little wink, wink. It's kind of fun.
Well, he's doing what ET did. He's hiding in the stuffies.
Right. I didn't think about it.
So they were winking.
Yeah. No, that's cute. I didn't think about that.
Also, for
Phoebe Cates turns the fountain on as she's like trying to find the light switch, and I'm like, I know you can't necessarily see what's going on, but I feel like in my mind, I'm like, if it's not the light, I'm turning it back off just in case.
That's true. Also, for some reason, Stripe on a tricycle feels less crazy to me than Kermit on a bike does, and objectively, they should feel the same. But like seeing,
I think it's because Stripe's legs look like more substantial. The Kermit's legs, like in a lot of Muppets, like there's really nothing there. It's just a piece. It's like barely even a wire in the felt. Whereas like this is like, I don't know, the thickness of a cigar.
Yeah, it's just very interesting that I watch this. I'm like, yeah, no, that makes sense. But then I see Kermit on the bike, and I'm like, witchcraft.
Yeah, I love the frisbeeing of the saw blades. That's incredibly fun.
That's a good one. Also, does this store sell a ball pitcher? Like,
it sure seems like it. Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I've ever been to a store other than maybe a Dick's Sporting Goods, but even then, I don't know that they sell the pitching machine.
I bet that they do. I bet that they do have like both a baseball one and also usually one for like tennis. I feel like is the thing.
Yeah, tennis or maybe softball too. I think this one was softball.
Yeah. No, it definitely is. I'm just saying, like, I think the one that people buy, like, commercial, like,
would be tennis, probably.
The one that people buy for home use is probably normally tennis because, like, if you were a person who played a lot of tennis and didn't necessarily have a partner, having the shooter would make sense. But yeah, this one is definitely like, it's more just like a launching device.
It is, yeah. It's very strange that the store sells it.
I'm surprised there's not like a scene where Stripe is loading it like a blunderbuss where he's just like putting broken glass in there.
It said he has a chainsaw and ends up getting foiled by the cord of the chainsaw.
I love the like part where he falls down and then the chainsaw like drives him all over the place, kind of like a snow.
He's covering his eyes and
snow machine.
Gizmo's driving Barbie dream car.
Yeah, really good.
And then they really made poor Phoebe Cates actually wrestle this door open. Like, this is not a prop door. This isn't like, I'm surprised her hands aren't like bleeding.
Permanently, yeah. There's also a thing, I think we hear it on the radio, I forget, but it's like, the Marines are in place to hose down the Gremlins. And I'm like, I'm sorry. The Marines don't get fire hoses. The Marines bring many bullets.
Oh, I don't know if they said Marines, but they said I thought they just said we're ready with fire hoses.
It specifically says the Marines are in position with fire hoses.
Oh, weird. Yeah. Stripe sees the fountain and says glug glug water. But luckily,
the fact that this ends with Stripe seeing a pistol and being like, I don't know what to do. It's like, wow, America has changed the Gremlins very quickly. It did not take long.
Well, they watch. Well, I wonder if Gizmo watches a shitload of TV, then gets wet.
So he watched Wizard of Oz and he was like, the Scarecrow's pistol.
And then Gizmo gets wet. Do his little offspring have his memories?
Oh, that's a good question. It's like divisional multiplication.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah.
So maybe that's why he's seen movies.
And maybe like this is where we find out that Gizmo is just like a big fan of infanticide. He's just like, all of my offspring must go.
But not even infanticide because he's baby. They all grew up.
Well, they're his.
He's killing his adult self. He's Peter Pan to the next level.
Gizmo has like a box rigged up with big floodlights in it, but he's like outside the curtain.
Yeah,
and he's like getting his hand wet and then shooting the ball into the light box and then just like watching it
dissolve in midair.
Yeah,
but yeah, thank God
Stripe he's turning him into goo.
Thank God Stripe wanted revenge first rather than just do the plan.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is another scene where Stripe is wet. He is standing on the fountain with his hand on the ledge that is pouring water over.
He's getting wet in like several parts of his body simultaneously.
Wild. The movie just and then he uses both hands to climb up and put his fingy in the top of the fountain, and that's when they decide he's getting wet.
Yeah. And then
Billy does nothing. He just stares because fucking useless himbo.
I mean, he's a dummy. But the end of this where they like launch
Gizmo's dream car.
Gizmo gets launched. Yeah, but like Gizmo gets launched like the little strongman carnival game where like you hit the thing and it goes bing, like
Yeah.
up the. It's like it looks like you rigged a puppet to that and just like hit it with the lever.
Well, I think that's what because he hits the wall and then he does the curtain pull.
I know. It just then when he gets like yanked up, it does
the ding. You're right.
Like yeah, someone doing the like big hammer swing.
It's such a great melt. Like even the skeleton melts to
Yes.
nothing.
Yeah, it's very much like an extreme version of the end of, is it Crusader or Raiders?
It's Raiders because it's the Ark.
Okay.
The Ark does the melting.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And the Ark melts the faces.
Yeah. Yep, that's what it is. But yeah, and the like final lunge of the skeleton, then it all collapses.
And it like the skull like sucks into itself. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Marty, the whole thing's turned to goo.
The news blames mass hysteria for the Christmas Eve riots. Mrs. Deagle is
Yes.
confirmed dead, and they call her husband a
Yes.
stock swindler.
Stock swindler. I
Yeah,
did not
her
get
stock
that.
swindler husband. And I was like, oh, they were both. Why did you let this happen for so long?
Yeah. I mean, they had money. That's how it works.
Yeah, and then the whole town gets together,
Yeah, well, it would have been an effective solution.
lock her in a
Instead, they
bank
had to
vault
bring
for a
in the-
couple days. Oops.
They had to bring in the Gremlins to do their dirty work.
Yeah,
I mean, it worked. They got the solution they needed.
they did, but the town could have handled it themselves if they all banded together.
You need a dark night.
Like, I'm picturing those two little kids from the beginning whose mom outside the bank was like, I took up sewing. Like, I'm picturing they go up for, like, Mrs. Deagle's, like, on the ground crying, and the two kids step up first with, like, a sock full of nickels, like, swinging it.
This is for our mom, you bitch.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Smash.
Foreclose on this,
would
you
probably-
bitch. Thwack.
It would be a sack full of rocks because they don't have.
They don't have nickels. It's a sack full of rocks.
They're a real Molly fucking Monahan. House.
Yes, they are. Foreclose on this, you bitch. Thwap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know what they would do? They could do the psych thing, and they would hang her using her chairlift.
Yep. Yeah,
This
that would
agonizing
be a
speed.
noble end for her. Yeah, that would be perfect. And then we.
You know what they say? People kill themselves around the holidays, Chief. Don't they?
Yeah. So we get Wing here, who comes to the house and takes Gizmo back.
He's mad about
Sad,
Gizmo's
of
screen time.
course. Yeah, of course. And he kind of scolds them for being idiots.
With great
And
mogwai
we
comes
get-
great responsibility, like you said.
Of course, yes. And then Billy's dad comes in with a voiceover of like, if you hear a sound, it just might be that you've got a gremlin. Do you have the gremlin waltz?
It's the rag, the gremlin's rag.
Do you have the gremlin rag? Excuse me, DJ.
Oh, this is me Venmoing you $25 saying, play the gremlin rag.
This is you going to like a dueling pianos bar where you like write a song.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going to Jelly Rolls in Magic Kingdom or in Disney World.
You sliding a $5 over the bar and be like, play the Gremlins rag.
Both of
And
you.
they do like 5 bars of it and then move back on to Life is a Highway or whatever the fuck.
And I'm like,
they play in those
hey,
places."
buddy, here's a hundo. You play the whole fucking song.
No, they go back to Don't Stop Believing for the 6th time that hour. Obviously, as you heard us gushing.
Hearty
for the
recommend.
last,
It's so good.
Yeah, this is a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen it before,
Maybe we'll do the
sorry that we
sequel
ruined
too.
it. Yeah, Gremlins 2 is fun. I don't like it as much as like the general public seems to, but I do like it.
Yeah, Gremlins 1 is way better. Like 100%, 100%.
Yeah. And the second one, I love all the silliness of it, but I just like the first movie.
It's kind of an Evil Dead situation where it just gets progressively goofier.
That's true, although I like Evil Dead 2 more than Evil Dead.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, hearty recommend. This movie rules. It's so much fun. There's so many great characters in it. There's so many great actors in it. The set design's incredible. The puppets are incredible. And, every so often, there's that animated thing on HBO right now, which I think is sort of taking the wind out of the sails. But every so often, you'd get the like, third Gremlins. And there's just no chance they would do it right. It'd be all CGI and shit. And I hate it.
Although I feel like there are some directors that are pushing for the less CGI route.
Yeah, for sure. I just don't see like the Lego sequel thing happening and them not being like, we're going to put our grubby paws all over it.
Yeah, I don't want it. Although I will say something like, I always said that something like a Gremlins or like kind of a thing, or even a Gods, like something where something happens to a whole town would be such a great mini series where like for this hour chaos happened, and then each episode is like this house or this house and then this apartment building, and it's like what did that hour look like for these people?
Yeah, that's a cool idea. I do think that would be fun. I will say though, I guess Beetlejuice is very practical and very real setsy. So maybe like I don't think Joe Dante's got the juice that Tim Burton does, but there's a world in which that maybe that happens if Spielberg put his finger on the scale. Or
I think 100% Speeby would change things.
Yeah. But yeah, go check this out. It's on Max for a little while, but rent it, buy it, own it, whatever. It's
pretty consistently on Max, I find.
I think it's going away. So it was threatening
okay.
soon. I don't know if that's that's happening or not. But thank you so very much for listening to the show. Please, if you want to give us a Christmas present, go ahead and review the show if you haven't done that. We haven't plugged that in a while. We read those on the air. Always nice to have those. Bump us up back to the 5-star threshold on Spotify. We're down to like 4.5 now. So get on there and review us if you haven't. You don't even have to write a review there. It's just a star rating. Check us out over on Blue Sky, where we are now, Dissecting the 80s. Dissecting the 80s on Facebook. We're no longer doing the Twitter. That's not where you'll find us. So if you want us somewhere else, let us know. But those are the places we're trying to be now. Trying to do the Instagram thing a little bit, but I am terrible at it. So, if you want to slide into the DMs with some social media tips, hit us up there too. Thank you again for listening. Patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. Go get yourself a Christmas present. Get a little bit of bonus Dissecting the 80s in your ears. Sign up at the $5 tier and get a whole bunch of extra content. Dissecting the 80s at Patreon. Thank you so very much for listening. Have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year. We'll see you in January, of course. We don't know what we're doing yet. We have to talk about that. So I don't have an episode for you. If
Gremlins
we figured
2.
out by the time I post this, we figured out by the time we post this, I will put it in the show description. So it'll be down there. And you can always check the socials for that stuff. Or join us on the Patreon. You'll have gotten it in your email. But I have been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until 2025.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.